Welcome to the Pushin the Cushion podcast with Slim Pushins and Corby Sherb. For all your local and national sprint car updates, news, opinions, driver and team interviews, and behind-the-scenes insights and stories I promise you've never heard. These two have no idea what they're doing or why they're doing it, so give it a try. If for no other reason, you'll be able to make fun of them for it. And now, from the Rutherford Team Studio, please welcome Corby and Slim.
Welcome to the very first episode of Pushin the Cushion. I'm the legendary Slim Pushins. And next to me here is my co-host, the only guy that I know that eats the middle out of an Oreo and puts them back in the package, Corby Sherb.
Hey, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Well, having you.
I mean, you ran out of choices, but
I couldn't do this without you.
I don't know about that.
This is Pushin the Cushion. Our aim is to give you some insight on local 305 racing, national racing, check in with people that we know that might be on the road, and maybe tell some stories in the meantime. Corby, give us some background. How did we get here?
I don't know how we got here. We got talked into doing this, but I've raced my whole life. I started racing motorcycles when I was 4 years old. Grew up, got smarter, got inside of a roll cage, and been in sprint cars. Didn't race very much last year. 2024, we had a really good season.
Great season.
Truly had no complaints about it. It took a lot of people to get to that point, and there's a lot of people who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And if we could do anything with this show, it'd be really cool just to spread some of the light. And because if it wasn't for people that stepped into my life, I would have never made it as far as I did. Even you, as useless as you are,
just a blessing to your racing career.
Standing in my pit area.
An absolute blessing to your...
Even if it's just a laugh, like I say.
We're in the middle of the off-season. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about off-season plans. What have you been up to?
For the most part, during an off-season, I think you just try to... you try to regroup. You try to get home and see your family and get to sit in your recliner for a little bit. Race season gets pretty hectic, and it seems like it just runs back-to-back. Try to make sure that you make it through the holidays and then get back to training, get back to focusing, getting ready for the season.
How many races did we race in 24?
I believe
34, 35?
I believe we ran 34 races that year.
A lot of back-to-back nights.
A lot of them. A lot of long weekends, a lot of long weeks, from crashing cars, minor incidents to big ones. We rebuilt a car in 5 days.
For Nebraska.
And no, that was a different car. Remember, I got ballparked at Ardmore.
Oh, at Ardmore.
And then we made it to Abilene the next weekend. So we went.
And then Waco? Was that the back-to-back
yeah,
weekend? Abilene and Waco?
Yep. And actually, we built that car, and then there at Abilene, we was passing for the lead in our heat race, and it spit a rear end. So.
During the off-season, let's talk about what happens during the off-season with a race team. The last race ends, you throw the car in the trailer, and then you don't pull it out until you're headed to the next race 3 months later.
Not even at all. Truly, the off-season is probably a little bit more hectic, and it's more tedious, I guess, than anything else. Just taking everything back apart and making sure that stuff's greased, making sure that
people have no idea what goes on during the off season, much less weekends during the week.
Just making sure you got anti-seize on bars and stuff, because if you break a radius rod, you might need the Heim out of it, and I promise you, Jimmy's hair stands up on end when he even thinks about
Hollywood Jimmy Gardner. The legendary Sherb crew chief. For how many years?
Way too long. Way too long for him to stick it out with us. Him and Wesley McNorton. Poor Wesley was there before Jimmy even came on the scene.
Took some of the load off?
Yeah. I didn't know how bad it was until I really started paying attention, and I think that's half the reason Jimmy even helped us. He just felt bad for us. He just got sucked into a...
Is Jimmy the one that taught you about the importance of antices?
Yeah.
Had you ever used antices before?
I didn't even know what it was. I think a lot of people misunderstand and that we didn't have a clue what we were doing.
Oh, when Jimmy and I stumbled upon the Sherb pit after he had Jimmy, I don't even think he had moved down here yet.
On Thursday, we went on Saturday. I drove down Thursday.
That's right.
They can't.
And I didn't know Jim very
You
well.
might need to repeat what I just said.
Jim moved down on a Thursday, and that Saturday night, we went to, was it KSP?
It's Kennedale.
To KSP, and he said, let's go into the pits. And I did not grow up in dirt track racing at all. I grew up in Waco. There clearly, obviously, is a track in Waco. I did not grow up around dirt track racing.
Racing in general, huh?
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't grow up any of that. And I remember Jim called, and Jim said, do you want to go to the Kennedale race? And me, not having any friends or plans at the time, I was all about it, assuming we were going to sit in the stands. And that cost me $35. Then we showed up, and we were just walking through the pits. And I didn't know at the time, the only thing I knew about racing for the most part was the different NASCAR series, and pit passes were hard to come by. And, just going up and buying a pit pass, and we were just walking through the pits.
I think a lot of people misunderstand that.
I agree.
How accessible that it truly is.
I agree, 100%. But we stumbled on y'all's pits. We're getting off topic here, but that's the background of how we came together, how Jimmy's involved. But back to the off season. We just finished up with Chili Bowl. We had a good time. Personally, we had a good time. We might or might not have a group of Chili Bowl fans, people that have been to the Chili Bowl with us over the last few years, that we might or might not wager on the nightly features. So we had a good time.
We did.
I didn't win at all.
No.
The
luckiest person in the family won.
Yeah, always. But that was fun. What did it mean? Let's talk about Chili Bowl. What did it mean to you, with a racing background and always, knowing the significance of Chili Bowl? When I went to the Chili Bowl for the first time, it was just an event. It wasn't. I didn't understand. I don't think that I understood the caliber of what the Chili Bowl means, and the stature and the grandness of the Chili Bowl. Amongst dirt track racing, it's like the Daytona 500. What do you remember your first time strapping in that building?
Yeah, actually, a lot of people don't know this. I'm old enough. Me and my older brother Merle actually raced the shootout there on motorcycles.
In the building?
In the same building. For the Tulsa shootout, before mini sprints and micro sprints had gotten so big, they had quad racing, motorcycles, and the mini sprints. That was the first time I ever raced there, but we knew how big that race was just because of the caliber of people who race it. Little did I know just how nerve-wracking it truly is inside of there.
As a single car? Because everybody knows, most everybody that's listening knows that you have 3 brothers and a father that have raced your entire life.
Yeah.
But you're talking about nerve-wracking just yourself.
Just me sitting in the car, let alone, watching. It's one thing to watch friends. It's another thing to watch your family do it. And then I will say this. I've raced a lot of races all across the country, stood on some podiums and stuff, but there is nothing more nerve-wracking than when they push you out on the racetrack for practice, qualifying, heat race, whatever it might be, and you sit there dead engine right next to the fence, nothing compares to that. Then you just add in and it just amplifies the people that you're sitting around.
I mean, and the place is legendary. Oh, you talking about the place is legendary. Let me finish that thought.
Yeah.
But you're talking about you're literally next to some of the biggest names in the sprint car racing sport, but also next to former and current NASCAR Cup
guys,
champions.
Late model guys race that. Big block modified guys race that. Tons of people from overseas come over just to race that. I think that the Chili Bowl will hold such prestige to so many people just because of, and they don't even build that race up. If we're being honest right now,
The Chili Bowl doesn't?
They really don't have to. It's just because of the people who want to come and just be a part of it. Now, like I said, you can race when you're 14 years old if you get approved by them, if you have, current racing history, and you can race it when you're 106 apparently. I think that a lot of the people go there to say that they raced it. We could probably break it down, and there's probably like 50% of the people go there just to say they raced it.
Should just say, I would agree with that.
20%,
or more.
20% go there. 20% of the racers there are like us, and they feel they're fast enough to be there. They're a great hobby weekend racer, and then there's 30%. The other 30% are paid drivers, not just from dirt racing, like you said. It's from everything. When you have people like, Tony Stewart did a lot of things. He still is doing a lot of things in racing.
Very accomplished.
Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Sammy Swindell's still doing it to this day.
And competitive.
Absolutely. Went for a real big ride this year.
Let's talk about your first trip on four wheels down the ramp.
You're talking about first trip in a mini sprint.
Yeah.
It was. That was my first time.
Did it end up
bad? Bad, really bad.
Tell me what happened. I've heard the story. I know the story.
We got a car basically pulled out of the weeds, and we cleaned it up and started up, and it ran. Never got to practice it. Never put a seat in it. Got to the Chili Bowl, or got to the shootout. Put a seat in it. Jimmy went over it the best that we could for the time that we had, and we pushed out there for the feature, and I started right up. I put it in gear, and it died.
On the ramp?
On the ramp.
Or in the chute? Previous to the ramp?
Yeah, no.
On the ramp?
On the ramp, going down. Put it in gear, car died. Told Jimmy, I was like, hey, clutch is bad, bump start me. Jimmy's like, what? And I was like, push me. So he pushes me, and I kid you not, the throttle hung, wide open.
And?
Down the ramp, straight into the bleachers on the other side.
All right, straight into the catch fence.
Yeah, the bleachers on the other side, actually.
So people that don't know, or they've never been there live, I don't know if you understand the layout. When you go down the ramp, you have to make a 90-degree turn right.
It's more than
to
90.
Get on.
It's more than 90.
To get onto the racing surface. So, knowing, because there are people smarter than we are out there, there's a huge catch fence to keep you from literally careening into what do they call the backstretch rowdies?
Yeah.
So were you hung? Like, were you airborne?
No, never airborne. It just ran down there, and I bent the brake pedal in half.
You were just hard.
Trying, because I had no clutch, no nothing, and I was still young in cars, and it didn't make sense to me just to flip the switch off, which is...
Well, that was my next question. I've never driven a race car, and anybody listening to this is going to be like, oh, we all know that.
It happened in 3 seconds.
So knowing now what you know, would it be second nature just to...
I've had throttles hang since then, and I just turned the switch off. Got practice. I actually set my car a couple nights just practice flipping the switch off.
Was your week over, or was the car repairable?
No, we got it fixed. But it had
and you won? You won that whole shootout?
No, absolutely not. No, it had a bit of a miss. So we ran our heat race and pulled off, and then called it a week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that was your first.
On four wheels, yeah. That's the first time in the building on four.
Chili Bowl is a whole different ball game. Not to piggyback on the shootout, but the Chili Bowl has so many. People don't realize what goes into it in the weeks of preparation. And we were a team that we raced sprint cars. We had midgets, but did not. There's not a lot of midget racing in this region, so our preparation, like, there really wasn't a ton of off season. As soon as the sprint car racing was done, we were working on the one race a year that we raced midgets.
I think that was the biggest fault in it all, was that a lot of dumb things happened to us in our cars there because they just never got drove.
Oh, I would agree with that. But we knew that going in, too.
I mean, I never went there and didn't believe I couldn't make the A-main, but there was too many things that happened inside of each of our preliminary nights that would make it really tough. I mean, the first year that I raced a midget there, we had a yoke seize up inside of the torque tube in my heat race, so the car wouldn't even start. We thrashed, got that one fixed, pushed out there for, I believe I was in the D feature that night, and broke a fuel fitting, so it sprayed me with fuel.
This was your first trip to the Chili Bowl?
To the Chili Bowl, yeah. And so it didn't, I started for like the Z feature on Saturday. I know
that was an early morning.
Yeah. Logan's had he had a U-joint explode. Lucas had a couple chassis issues. Merle's blown up a motor. Lucas has blown up a motor there. There was just always a lot of stuff that maybe it could have been prevented if we ran it some other places, but I think the hardest thing for all of us was we just was never comfortable in that car until late in the day Saturday, and you're way behind the eight ball at that point.
Yeah, running what they call the soup. What they take the first four
or five, yeah, and it's awful. It's just nerve-wracking. It's just terrible.
It's intense. A lot of people don't understand. A lot of the general race fans don't understand the intensity of Saturday, the intensity of, and it was different for us because we had 4 and 5 cars every year, and they were all running. Every one of those has to be naturally the odds of a couple or 3 cars being in the same feature were slim because there were so many features and everybody ran on a different night, which was the greatest. Having everybody's main day different was the best decision as a team that was ever made.
I agree.
It'd be so difficult to run during the middle of the week. But everything leads up to Saturday, and the intensity of making those turns from one race to the next, you literally have, 10 laps, 12 laps?
Yeah.
After you. So you go from, one race, the L number 1, or the L number 2. So that means if you transfer from the L number 2, when you get to the top of the ramp, the L number 1 is running. So you have enough time to put some fuel in it, if need be, and some very minor changes.
Yep.
And you're making the U-turn right back into the chute.
Yeah, I remember.
It's fun. In the moment, it's just incredibly.
It's just grueling.
And I say that from a guy that just crews and helps out.
Yeah, I remember the second year I ran there with all the features going on. Me, pregnant Lindsay Warhurst, and Dakota Warhurst actually pushed my car up to staging. And I think that was the biggest thing about the Chili Bowl is how many racers are there and how many people are willing to.
Do you remember what the number was this year? 350 plus?
I think it was 340 checked in this year.
340.
340 cars.
No support classes, obviously. Nope. Like, all the same class. And it is intense.
then like I said,
that's a lot for one race.
You break down 340 cars. Like I said, you got 50% of people saying that they just wanted to race it. You got about 20% of people who saying they're good enough to be there, and then about 30% of the people there are paid drivers. That's what they do. That's their job.
And then the other how many percent are paying drivers?
Yeah. Because they have rental rides and stuff like that there, crash deposits, because honestly the odds of not getting in a crash is just about unheard of.
Well, because it's such a... That goes back
small.
to the intensity.
Well, it's small too. Don't let anyone take it for granted. The Chili Bowl is not a big racetrack.
Well, they're midgets.
And they're midgets, but it is very tight, especially in heat races or early morning features. The track's really one lane. You have to be extremely aggressive.
All right, let's talk about Chili Bowl shenanigans. There's a lot of stories that come from the Chili Bowl. Stories like you just mentioned with Lindsay Warhurst and Dakota Warhurst, stepping in and pushing a car.
This is the same year, remember, Jared went for a big ride that year too. And we got Jared's car fixed for Saturday. The shenanigans, most of the time...
Oh, that was that's a whole story in itself.
That was a good one.
With JW flipping like that, he tore that car up.
Absolutely.
I believe he's the only car. His flip is the only car that has come close enough to knock the little, what do you call those? Out of the air, the little camera.
Oh, the drone.
The drone.
Yeah.
He came within 4 or 5 feet of knocking the drone out of the air. That was awesome.
It was a big ride.
And what was the turnaround for that? Was like 20, 25 minutes. We had people we didn't know.
Yeah.
Working on that.
That's
car.
like I say. That's the good thing about the Chili Bowl. I think the camaraderie there is. Everyone else knows that why you're there. You want to race. It's the middle of winter. It's probably miserably cold. It's even cold in Oklahoma at that time. You just want to
crazy
race.
Cold.
So we thrashed to get his car back together. The shenanigans that go into the.
Do you
Chili
remember
Bowl,
his knees?
His knees were bad. He never raced another car, as far as I understand, without knee guards in it.
They were. To say it was black and blue is kind of an understatement. They were black.
I'm a firm believer in knee guards. That steering box hurts real bad whenever you try to knee it.
Just so that we're being brutally honest here, I was named the SHRB. I was the director of artificial lighting and team nutrition for. It didn't come with a business card, and it didn't come with any sort of a pay. There was no.
But it was a title.
Salary involved. It was a title.
See,
and it got me in the building.
Yeah.
In a warm place to stay. Jimmy might argue with that because our air conditioner didn't work and we slept with the window cracked open one night. And it was, I don't even know if you know this, it sleeted that night. And Jim, being the good sport that he is, he let me crack the window about 6 inches. And it sleeted that night and froze the window open. We couldn't even, the next morning when we went back to the expo center, we couldn't even get the window closed. But he was a good sport about it.
I think there's so much that happens inside of that 1 week that you're there. I mean, because you're there at least Saturday to Saturday, if not Friday to the next Sunday.
Yeah, now it's even longer.
Yeah, they finally opened up practice day to being just Sunday, so everyone's got to be in the building by Saturday.
Load-in is Saturday now, right?
It's Friday and Saturday, actually, is load-in.
That's a whole nother event.
The load-in is one thing. Load-out?
Load-out is I'm going to say this, but I say it with lighthearted. It is an absolute disaster, but it is an organized disaster.
Load-in, I would say. Load-out is every man for himself. Every man for himself.
I mean, there were people, I've seen people push trailers themselves out because the only organized way to do it is to pull trailers from the furthest back first.
The same as how we load in. Load in is people at the back come in the building last. So naturally,
Yes.
whenever you go to leave, it would be back to front.
And there's nothing worse, absolutely nothing worse than, and it's on Saturday.
Yeah.
So you've been up, Sherb cars. We were up at,
Oh, yeah. One of us
we were
was-
in the building at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
and your feet hurt, your ankles hurt, your knees are killing you, your hips hurt. You've literally been racing for 15 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to load everything up. And then, 2 o'clock in the morning, they're getting semi-close to your trailer.
Yep.
And it's 4 degrees outside.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But again, I don't know it just kind of is what it is. There's no magic. It's not that they're doing anything wrong. It just kind of sets up that way.
It's like I said, you have people that have really good weeks, and they pit it in the back, and they're there until late in the evening before they ever start loading, to people who pitted at the front and had a really bad one, and they just want to go home. They're from Minnesota. They just want to
they've
get out
been
of there.
done since 10 a.m.
Yeah, they just want to go home. And I understand that. I'm very much a homebody. I would rather be at home every day if I could.
Yeah. That's no surprise that anybody's ever met you. Let's talk. We touched on it. Let's talk about the ramp. They wet that ramp down,
I have no idea.
which
why.
is an absolute disaster.
Yeah, like,
I have come so close. Dylan Ramey has his favorite story ever is he was walking up the ramp as I was going down the ramp, and I lost my footing. And there's no cool way or couth way to kind of catch yourself. It's just like instant panic because inevitably there's another 100 people that are walking down with you, and they're walking past you from the last race. And one of your brothers fell more than once.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a disaster.
Well,
and just slick like a slip and slide.
Tell them this. Why did you always want to stand on the ramp? I mean, there's no bleachers. Place is sold out. If you want to watch the racing with us on the track, not watching just through a screen, you have to go stand on the ramp.
Yes. Yeah, and I have a weird way. Of, like even at the racetracks, local racetracks. I don't know that I've ever sat in the stands and watched any of our races.
Yeah.
It's just weird OCD, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a ramp cam, and that's always fun if you're sitting at home.
Yeah.
And I never asked you, this last year, you had made a comment that you saw me on the ramp cam. Did you see me giving you, like, looks and hand signs?
Yeah, just one of them seemed like devastation. One of them seemed like, what was that?
Like this was a waste of our time.
But like we say, the moral of the story is just it's a long week. It takes a lot of preparation just to get there, even if you're in just mediocre stuff. I've watched people do it. I know it can be rewarding. I know you can do it. I wouldn't have ever gone there if I didn't believe that I could do it.
It's like the NCAA, like the tournament. Like you get the Cinderella stories, and I think that's why
Absolutely.
people go. It's not cheap.
No, not at all.
Under any circumstances, it's not cheap to have for one, a car, and for two, everything that gets involved, the entry fees and the wristbands, and you got to eat while you're out there.
Yeah.
I think you have to eat chili.
You do?
Yeah.
Who believes that?
Well, I knew this would come up. So, being the director of team nutrition and not being a mechanic, my value, I felt like, was doing things that either A, nobody else wanted to do, or things that nobody else had any time for. So, that first year, I had like a crock pot and a hot plate and like 30 cans of chili.
How many did we end up cooking?
Every day we had chili, an option with chili, whether it be nachos or chili cheese dog. And I I guess anybody that's never met Corby's brother Lucas is not a guy that you want to disappoint. So what was it, like Thursday? We'd been there like 3 days, 3 full days. And, I'm feeling good. I'm in the trailer and I've got the crock pot going with chili and hot dogs. And, Lucas comes in and he's like, he just gives me this look and he's like, chili again? And I have never been more defeated than the moment I disappointed Lucas, and I had not lived up to my director of team nutrition title.
That's a lot of days of chili.
It is, but I was limited. I'm not a chef. I'm not a chef, and I was trying to do it as cheap as possible, and I disappointed Lucas. So, and then didn't I disappoint him twice? I left him in the chute at KSP once.
Yeah, that happened.
And both of those instances seem to come up more than I think that they should, just in conversation when we all get together. There's another, speaking of like chili bowl shenanigans, and I don't know, this might be too much information for some of our demographic. We came up with what we call the urinal lottery.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about.
I think anyone who's ever been there knows what you're talking about.
For what I don't claim to know anything about building code, but the urinals in every bathroom in that building are like 16 foot tall. So my aim every time that I walk in there is to get the short one so that I feel normal. And so we coined it the urinal lottery. And I made a big deal out of it because I'm not the tallest guy in the world. But it can get messy quickly if you can't reach the urinals.
I don't know how they can have that many people inside that building with as few of just restroom spots in general.
Well, the stalls aren't even an option. We don't even include we don't call it the bathroom lottery because the stalls in that building.
No,
there is. How do I say this? There is always business being conducted.
For sure.
In those there's 100 urinals and 2 stalls.
Yeah. And you got 50,000 people standing in this pit area, it seems like.
And everybody needs to go to the bathroom at the same time.
Well, you're there for, 12, 16 hours a day.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story in itself. What other? Am I missing any chili bowl shenanigans? I know that there was once, one of the years that we were there, I was tasked with watching Dakota. Her dad was racing, and they had also rented a car that rented a midget. So his time was consumed. And so I was tasked with watching Dakota, and if anybody doesn't know who Dakota is, she's become an incredibly talented go-kart racer. Wins a ton of races. They race every opportunity that they can. And her mother at the time was driving a monster truck in what was the series? Monster Jam. And she had earlier that day had to go to the airport to fly to, I think, Kansas City. So I was responsible for her. And everybody knows her. Everybody likes her. Everybody watches out for her. Well, at the time, there was a tradition on the backstretch of throwing those huge golf ball sized marshmallows. And she had been playing. We used to call her Baby Joe Dirt because she was constantly dirty, but she was always finding she could just entertain herself. She'd be sliding around on anything that had rollers, pretty much, and She'd be under. They'd be like hide and go seek. She'd be up underneath the trailer. So I had told her, I need you to come check in with me. We were watching the feature that night, and I told her, I need you to come check in with me. Like every 20 or 30 minutes. And we're sitting there, a bunch of people in lawn chairs. If you've ever been there, you know what I'm talking about. People congregate in lawn chairs like it's an outdoor concert right underneath one of the two big screens, and you're watching the live race on the other end of the arena. And she walked up, and I could see, I read her mind. There was a marshmallow that was on the ground about 4 or 5 feet from me that had been there hours, and people had stepped on it and had been kicked around. Literally, it had started its life on the backstretch.
Because like you said, it's dirty in there. It's a dirt track race, and we're sitting on concrete floor.
It had started its life on the backstretch, and we were at the very back of the building. So it had traveled however marshmallows travel, being kicked and on the bottoms of feet and on, I would assume, a few revolutions on a right rear at times. And she was walking up, and this marshmallow laying on the ground caught her eye. And she looked down at it, and then she looked back up at me. And I trying to be, the adult in the room, I was like, don't even think about it. So she reaches down, she just smiles, and she reaches down and she picks this thing up. And I was like, Dakota, do not, it's been on the ground. It's nasty. Don't even think. And before I got that out of my mouth, she goes, "Ow!" and takes an absolute hunk out of this thing and just smiles at me.
Just not worried about it.
That was the last time Lindsay and Jared ever let me watch.
I can imagine.
So, all right, back to Chili Bowl. Before we finish up here, especially the shootout, I'm always interested because I've never been to the shootout. Some of us have jobs, and so I've never been able to make it to the shootout, knowing that if I'm going to take some time off, I try to take time off for the Chili Bowl. So one of the things that always interests me is seeing these kids being interviewed, and some of them are just naturals. One thing about you, that you were always a natural, and you'd been doing it since you were little. Tell me about interviews. How do you feel about being interviewed?
I don't mind being interviewed. I think I was taught, like you said, at a young age to be respectful, and there's certain things that you just never say on a microphone, and there's certain things that you can always say off a microphone. When it comes to being interviewed, I believe I've watched enough interviews in my day to know what to say and what not to say. They just want to know about what's going on, and make sure that you always thank your sponsors. Try to remember them.
Is it nerve-wracking?
I don't think so.
Embarrassing? Nerve-wracking? Stressful?
No. I know a lot of people feel that way. I've just never had that feeling when it came to being interviewed. It's just talking. Even though there's people staring at you, if you really break it down, and there's people staring at you every day in life, if you're talking or not. So being interviewed, even at a big stage, I would always try to go back and watch it to make sure that I didn't do anything dumb. I
won't listen to this back. That's why I'm glad that we have somebody that will do the editing. I don't have no ambition. I don't want to see myself, and I don't want to hear myself.
I don't mind. It doesn't bother me too much.
What do you have a preference, whether it be like the track announcer or like a broadcast announcer?
I love when announcers give you feedback and they talk to you and they want to interact with you, and I know that that's not how a lot of people are, and there's a lot of track announcers that won't even try that. I want to be asked questions. I want to be able to enjoy that moment, maybe make someone laugh if I can drop a quick one.
There was one time, where were we? Boyd? Were we at Boyd when you were...
No, I believe
you had kind of gotten caught. There was a late race caution.
I believe it was at Rocket.
Is that where it was?
I think so.
It was a late race caution, and you felt like that one of the decisions by the officials that were made were not adequate in the moment. We still finished top
I think
3 or 4. We were on the front stretch,
Yep.
and you hopped out of the car, and you turned to me, which normally in that moment on the front stretch, there are people around. Normally, my job, I try to grab your helmet and your receiver and stuff like that, and put it on the four-wheeler so that you can do your business. And you hopped out of the car and were absolutely raising hell at the officiating at the time. What was it? You felt like it should have been a single file restart?
I felt like someone got their position back that didn't deserve their position back. They were still caught.
I don't know how you remember these things with detail.
There's not many things that I do remember except for race situations. I felt like someone was involved in the crash, and they should have been penalized for it, whether or not it was late or anything like that. And I am a man of... we never were cheaters, ever. We refuse to ever cheat with anything. I'm a man to play by the rules, and I will be the first to try to help enforce the rules, not to the racers, but to the officiating staff, to help them help them understand where I'm coming from. And I just felt like that incident was very blatant inside of that moment. And of course, like you say, we're in the middle of a race and emotions are high anyways, and everyone's there trying to do, whether you're chasing points or just a race win. I felt like it was uncalled for. And so
you got out. So you got out of the car and you were raising hell.
I voiced my opinion
to
for sure.
me, explicitly expressing your displeasure, and to anybody else that was close that would listen. And looking back on it, I felt like it was almost instantaneous, because one thing that we always maintained was, and still maintain to this day, was respect. And there are things that go on in and around a racetrack. And I think anybody that's ever been a race car driver or any part of a team, I think will understand this. There are things that go on that other people don't see. Conversations, whether it be, proprietary setup stuff or complaining or whatever. That stuff goes on in the trailer or at the shop, and it's not...
Well, I think a lot of race fans just misunderstand how much thrashing happens in the pits. Whenever they see a car break and then it shows back up an hour later, they're like,
100%.
Magic, it just happened. And it was probably 10 guys throwing wrenches and cursing at everything that they could just to try to get it back together to one piece to give that said driver the opportunity to go out there and race. And that's, I think, in the sense of why I got out so upset. I felt...
I understood why you were upset.
Yeah.
And the point of the story, the reason I bring it up is back to interviewing, is you were so upset and hopped out of the car, and we were talking, and you were trying to get the attention of the powers that be to express your concern. Not that it would have changed anything.
Correct.
But that, and I agree with the need that it needed to be heard. They all need to be heard. And I know, sprint car drivers get a bad rap because I think everybody thinks that the sport in general is high maintenance. But you were absolutely raising hell. And like I said, looking back on it, it was like instantaneous that as you were raising hell, you get spun around and they put a mic in your face, and you became an absolute different person. Like, left it all behind you and did your politically correct interview.
I think that, like I say, that's the difference. And a lot of race fans that go to the racetrack and they just don't know any of that stuff that happens. They don't stand at the drivers' meetings and stuff like that, and they don't deserve to. My job always is to make sure that the fans enjoy the show, that they're thanked for being there. If it wasn't, I say this all the time in almost every interview, if it wasn't for those fans sitting up there, I wouldn't get to chase my dreams.
Well, and I think, and you'll agree with me, we've talked a lot about doing the podcast. It was out of both of our comfort zones, and we got bamboozled into this to some degree. It's been brought up over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, but that is one of the reasons why both you and I decided to do this podcast, was to give some insight on things that either people don't know about, some behind-the-scenes stuff that people don't know about. Our intention is to we'll have drivers and crew, and we'll other than this episode, we hope to have a guest in studio with us every episode, so that we can give the general race fan an idea of what goes on and some insight. And if nothing else, you can put some character and some personality behind your favorite driver that you only see either on a weekend basis or every few weeks when they come into town.
I think that it's like you're saying, a lot of people know me by my car or my number.
Right.
Not everyone knows me by my face, and that's because...
Which is good.
It's a great thing. It's a great thing.
You have a face for radio.
I think that the fans are separated a lot from what just happens all the time sitting over there when, like I said, the thrashing that goes on, what we did through the week just to be able to be there, People don't have a clue that we pulled the valve covers off this week and had broke a rocker arm on the last lap of the feature. They don't know.
Absolutely. But there's things like that people that are race fans and fans of the team and fans of the sport and fans of the track, I think they are very interested in all that they can know.
I agree.
They're paying good hard-earned money, and they come and they yell. We hear them when we push off. We can hear people yelling at us and for us, mostly probably at us, if I had to guess.
Because it's in the same sentence. Even to be a promoter, it takes a lot. Because, like you said, there's a lot of people who complain just to complain.
Absolutely.
And then I always tried to, if I was going to complain, I felt like I had good enough reason to. And I think that even a lot of race fans don't understand how many times these promoters will stand in a driver's meeting and just get torn apart.
Oh.
Just torn apart.
And again, though, that's drivers' meetings are something that I've been a part of many drivers' meetings through the years. And that's I would be willing to bet that your average race fan that comes every weekend, most of them probably don't know that there's a drivers' meeting that existed.
While they're playing the national anthem, we're usually getting cussed out over something that we did on the racetrack
last
weeks
week
ago.
Yeah. Yeah, getting bumped or something that we did or didn't do, not being on time. That's another big thing.
Oh, yeah. I think that
try to keep the show running.
Yeah, being on time is one thing, and then getting lined up, especially as sprint cars, because we can't restart our motors. We have to be push started. It's a big thing for us for the most part, we know where we're at. There's a lot of people who might try to cheat the system and slide up one, but they have live timing. They have the lap times come through automatically. They know where we're at.
Which was your biggest...
I felt
back
like
to the point of the story.
Yeah, I felt like he didn't deserve his spot, and that's my opinion. I express my opinion. I think in life that the only stupid question is a question not asked. And like I said, I just simply asked why that happened.
And even those questions can end up being stupid.
Oh, for sure.
All right. Well, that's probably a good place to wrap it up for episode number 1. Maybe we'll get this figured out before episode number 2. Maybe not.
I would say, like you're saying, I want to say it again. Like, thank you to all the fans who always come out and support the local dirt tracks. Even at the local level, it's just as needed. And for sure, the promoters who do this, because it ain't a job for me. There's no way I
could never be a promoter. Like, we say that, and I believe that we mean that, but next week when we get to the track and we have nothing good to, whether it be the track condition or whatever.
Yeah.
It does take a lot. There's a lot at stake. It's not cheap. We complain about the cost of stuff. And I don't know if you know this. Kevin Ramey, well, you know this part. Kevin Ramey's running RPM now, has taken over that responsibility. And last season, I was talking to him, and I was just asking him general questions. I've never been a promoter. I don't know what goes into it other than track, preparation and schedule.
And a lot of ass chewings?
A whole lot of ass chewings. But he told me, I asked him about, I think I asked him about prices or something, and he explained it legitimately, and it made all the sense in the world. And I hope that those are some of the things that we can bring also to the podcast to make people just better understand things. In time, I would love to have promoters on. Our initial idea is to have drivers on so that they can tell us their backstory and how everything came about, but how they got to where they are and what their future plans are, and how Corby Sherb ruined one of their nights at some point. But we really appreciate you listening. We hope you come back for more. And, we hope we can give you something entertaining. So, thanks for listening to number 1. You have anything to say?
Thank you guys very much.
That's it, fans?
Thank you, Slim Pushins, for allowing me to be a part of this. And whoever was dumb enough to put us two inside the same room
set us up for this
probably needs to think about Jesus.
All right, y'all have a good one.